Leeds United are in the midst of some wild transfer talk. Day to day to day, there are new stories, new rumours, all sorts to be talked about. And whilst we did see an interesting friendly yesterday where Leeds played against Hanover, I think Daniel Farke's insight after the match was just as interesting. Admittedly, the match itself, genuinely fascinating, good to see the system that we are enjoying playing in right now and where various players slot into it. But ultimately, we are here to discuss what the Leeds boss said after the Hanover friendly and what it could mean for the rest of the transfer window. I'm going to run through the result of the match itself and what it sort of implied to us, some midfield considerations that we might want to talk about, thinking about the width in the squad, what might need to happen with the depth there, what this means for the entire rest of the window, and ultimately whether or not he's right in his assessment of what the squad looks like. And first, we're going to talk about what the result was in this match. There goes the camera charger. First up, we won 4-1. It was very, very comfortable, a complete stomp, and the only time we conceded was a very lazy back pass that Illan Meslier had no chance of dealing with in a sensible manner in the slightest, and they managed to score in the sort of play that followed that. So it's a sort of pre-season-y, lazy mistake thing that you'd rather didn't happen, but it did. It's not the biggest problem. It was an incredibly engaging match in build-up with absolutely everyone getting involved. It was fun to see on the left-hand side, Firpo doing an overlap with Aronson cutting inside, but on the right-hand side, it was the other way around. So Byron would cut inside, stay sort of inverted, and Nonto would stay wide. Genuinely a fascinating way that we were playing. And at the other end of the pitch, we showed no actual systemic gaps at the back. And our forwards found a lot of space and time, hence scoring 4 goals, which was a really strong result considering they're reasonable opponents. I'd call them sort of mid-table-ish championshipy. They are, well, last season were 6th in the Zweite Bundesliga, second tier of German football. Not a bad side. And then after the match, Daniel Farke discussed the transfer market and the various goings-on that are happening at the moment. And he started by talking about some midfield considerations. First up, he mentioned the relative lack of depth in midfield and the reasons why that's happened. So we sold Archie and Kamara for a grand total of something like £48 million, and we've only gotten Joe Rothwell in the time since. Specifically, he was quoted as saying, especially in the central position, we won't fall asleep until the window is really closed. We'll be keeping our eye out for a midfielder purely because we don't have that much depth there. We want to make sure that we are looking good going into the season and we don't have any gaps in the squad. He also noted that it has to be a quality player. It needs to be a good personality, have to bring in the skills that we need, and they need to be affordable. These topics have to come together. For me, having a look at all of that is really, really promising because it says that we're looking for recruitment based on profile rather than just signing players to add to the numbers. It's like what happened a few years back with the under-21s where it was just, shit, we don't have any under-21s, let's sign Jeroy Grot and various other players that got chucked in the 21s and did nothing. That's not what this is going to be. This is going to be picking players that have the right profile to give us something a bit different in midfield, provide us something that could be quite engaging, potentially someone that is good at going forwards, because we've got Gruev and Ampadu who play in a holding role. Rothwell is a little bit more forward-thinking, maybe another more forward-thinking midfielder to go with him. We're not just looking at numbers. We want quality, and we want quality that fits, and that is the perfect approach to to footballing recruitment. Again, these morning videos I record the night before, which means that I tend to be quite tired when I'm doing them. Sorry about that. In addition to thinking in the middle of the park, he is also thinking wider, and it's not just midfield that we're looking at. It's more defensive and wide. He was quoted as saying, yes, the fullback position was definitely something we had to look at because we have lost several players. Not just Archie Gray, who played there specifically at right back throughout the majority of last season, but also Jamie Shackleton, who played there. Shackleton, who could play on the right and could fill in on the left, was no one's number one choice, but he's still some depth there, which is especially important. And I think our depth right now looks especially weak at left back. At right back, you've got Bogle, followed by Byram, and then I don't particularly know. That's where the depth seems to end, but Byram is at least a right back. On the left-hand side, you've got Junior Firpo and then Max Wuber, who in my opinion is more of a centre-back than straight-up left-back, and even if he is a left-back, he's a very different profile to Junior Firpo. As you saw in the second half of the friendly, Somerville came on, he played the wider role on that left-hand side, whilst Wuber cut inside and inverted a bit more. Wuber surprisingly went higher up the pitch than I expected him to. That was good to see, but concerned me. And there is some indication that this might be the case with the Harrison Burrows chat. The fact that we're at least sort of floating around the conversations for a left back, even if he is going to Sheffield United. He's still not officially signed there, by the way, so that could be a very fascinating one to keep an eye on. I think the sort of target we need for that is a young left wing back that is happy to develop behind Junior Firpo and maybe take on the reins into next season. This is why Burrows was so good, because he is sort of ready to start at a championship level now, but that 6 months of development wouldn't do him any harm whilst Firpo works out what's going on with his contract. Someone in that area would be perfect, and potentially it's worth discussing a spare right back too. But at the same time, system changes can help with that. If we go to that 3-4-3, we don't even necessarily need a right back. We can put Dan James out there because he is happy to go box to box. Nonto is happy to do the same left wing back in the first friendly against Harrogate. Lots of things to keep an eye on, but I do feel like we will be looking at fullbacks for the rest of the window. Elsewhere, there's other bits of conversation to be had, but the most important quote, in my opinion, on this part was, in many positions, we are already more or less done in our planning. It's starting to feel like a case of if something comes up, then go for it. Fantastic. Make that move. And if there are any sales that happen, looking at you, Somerville, looking at you, Nonto, then replace them, because that just makes sense. Make sure you've got that full squad. In addition to that, jump on any bargains that happen, but this feels like actual squad planning, thinking that we need this many players in this position, which will be ideally in these specific profiles, this many in these positions, which will require these profiles. And it's good to see actual planning, unlike what you would sometimes get with Victor Orta, where he would see, shit, we need a number 9. Let's try and sign Cody Gakpo, who wasn't a number 9. Then let's try and sign Bamba Dieng, who, sure, was a number 9, didn't come. And we ended up signing Willie Nonto, who is not a number 9. This is actual planning, which is fantastic to see. It means we won't end up with like 5 left wingers and then 1 centre forward. We're in a good position, I think, when it comes to actually thinking and what it means for the window. I think for the rest of the window, we will continue to see links with players, primarily fullbacks and midfielders, because they're going to be the most applicable links, and a bunch of journalists will actually pick up on that and be like, okay, let's ask the question, who can fit into these places? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what Daniel Farke said. If he said he was happy with his squad and was 100%, he promises, done with transfers, the rumour mill would still never stop. It keeps grinding out ideas and thoughts and rumours and theories, no matter what. But ultimately, you might be asking, is he right? And in my opinion, honestly, yeah, Daniel Farke has pretty much hit the nail on the head with this press conference. We are visibly a bit weak in midfield. Yeah, we've got some great midfielders, but beyond Ampadu, Gruev, Rothwell, it's Charlie Crowe, who has looked quite good in pre-season, but you don't want to be relying on him as potentially a starting option, especially when he's another holding option to go with the Ampadu Gruev pair. You don't want just Rothwell as a progressive midfielder. In addition to that, the quotation marks here, loss of Rasmus Christensen has harmed our depth. We would have had on that right-hand side Bogle, Christensen, Byram. No Christensen means it's Bogle, Byram looking a little bit weak. And at the same time, I'm still not convinced Vuber is a left back. Played reasonably out there against Hanover, but you don't know how that's going to translate to a full season. All of what he said is very, very valid. And to me, it shows some unity behind the scenes. There's no way that he comes out and has this conversation and says that these are the targets that we need if there isn't agreement with that on the board level, because then the board will look incredibly stupid in a few weeks if there aren't even rumours about these moves happening. It tells me that they have a unified vision, they know what the strategy is, and are pushing forward with it together, and that makes me kind of happy. But whilst that all makes me kind of happy, I, as always, want to know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are on this entire thing in the comments section below. It's always really helpful to sort of gauge the idea of where Leeds fans are at. Like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're not yet. I managed to cross through 4,000 yesterday, which I hugely appreciate. That was the target for the start of the season. Broke that. Brilliant. Let's keep on pushing. That'd be fantastic. And as I've mentioned before, every single subscriber is one more penny donated to Prostate Cancer UK by the start of the season. So you can basically just donate to a charity by clicking a button. Easy enough. Same applies for channel memberships. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you later. I just love this kit so much. I mean, just come on. Let's just look at that. Oh, it's spectacular. I love it. We're going to win so much football in this kit. See you later.